So the villains of this film are capitalism and fascism. So it's definitely a Del Toro film. Hello, interwebs! I am here to review a movie that I have been deeply excited about, and that is Guillermo del Toro's rendition of Pinocchio. And I'll be honest with you, I was mostly excited for this film just based on the art style and the fact that Del Toro was directing it. I didn't really expect much from the plot of this movie because I'm like, oh, it's Pinocchio. Kind of know what to expect from a Pinocchio story. In fact, earlier this year, we got the Disney live-action remake of Pinocchio. And I watched that movie. People hated it. I thought it was fine. It was fine. It wasn't a trash fire. It just existed. Which ultimately, to be honest with you, was even worse, in my opinion. I'd rather a trash fire than just boring. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be drawn into this more by the art style and like Guillermo del Toro bringing his like horror edge to like a story like this, which I think is kind of like an interesting idea. But I wasn't really expecting much from the plot. But let me tell you, everybody, this movie's plot fucking whips. Like, it really, really does. Like, I watched this with a bunch of friends, and we were like shocked because we were just like gonna sit down to watch and enjoy a movie. We were really just invested by how much of the themes of the film are like, yeah, capitalism, fascism, really terrible things, and how they affect individuals living within those worlds, and how they really sort of distance people from being able to find connection and love each other. And it's drawn through this story of exploring those systems through the love of a father and son, and how they want to be with each other, they want to see each other, but they're sort of pulled apart by all these things working around them and the world working around them. And it was just so brilliantly done and surprisingly done, and very overtly and very directly politically done. Like, this movie is not subtle about any of its themes. And I loved it. I'm like, oh shit, are they doing that? Like, there are moments in this movie where I'm like, holy crap, is that Del Toro? You're gonna do that? I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, please say fuck fascism in the way that you say fuck fascism in this movie. But I did not expect it to be that overt. It was delightful. But it never loses sight of the characters. It doesn't like become lost in that message, even when it's being very overt about it. It's always honing in on who these characters are and how they react to these situations, and they're all just a lot of fun. The villains of this piece, particularly Christoph Waltz, is a joy. Christoph Waltz is the villain here, or one of the villains, is just absolutely fun to just watch and see and just get to be over the top. But all the other characters too throughout this, especially David Bradley as Geppetto, really bring the emotion, so that when you get to scenes within the film where they have to connect, I was literally weeping at certain moments throughout the film, especially at the beginning and the end. There's two moments at the beginning and the end. If you're a fan of Up, the Pixar movie Up, be prepared for a similar emotional devastation at the beginning of this film. That's not a spoiler. It's fairly obvious that it's coming, but even though you know it's coming, it still like punches you in the gut when it happens. It touches the power of Del Toro. But yeah, just all these characters and were so wonderfully characterized, and I really always felt for them. So even though this is like a kind of very episodic movie where we have a character like Pinocchio going from situation to situation to situation, they're all interwoven, that I really just feel where these characters are at within each, and feel for each characters within each story. Like, what else can I talk about? There's so much I could, but it's hard to talk about this without spoiling too much. But this movie even gets into like workers' rights and worker solidarity, which in a surprising way that I thought was really good as well. Just like young Pinocchio getting into like workers unite, sort of thing. I loved that as well. The other thing too, the horror aspect of it. Like, this movie is not scary, at least in the sense of like overt monsters, but some of the mystical elements of this are gorgeously rendered and so cool and unique. The designs of the mystical beings that we encounter in this story are beautiful and creepy and slightly disturbing and off-putting, but in a way that like you kind of want to be drawn in. I loved the designs on all of that. It was just so again, magical is the word that I could be best used to describe it. And I think that is ultimately my final thought on the film. This movie is a film that has something to say. It is very political. If you think you know Pinocchio, you do not know Pinocchio. This movie like really makes it a timely story, but never loses the core of what the story was about finding yourself and trusting yourself and finding who, if you're a real boy, And I think that this movie captures the magic that I wish the Disney one would have. Not that I want Disney to control everything or anything like that, but like when we think of Disney and Disney like animated movies, they seem to have this like certain magic to them that is just lost when they bring it to live action. It just loses the sheen into this capitalist like money-making machine that is the need to remake these films in live action, quote unquote live action, because they are mostly animated as well, just more realistically, quote unquote. And you lose that sheen. And this movie is that magic being brought back in to it. I don't think you could watch this movie without feeling something and feeling love, pain, joy, fear, anger, politically motivated. And the fact that that's in a Pinocchio movie, I'm shocked. Though I shouldn't be, because it's Del Toro, and we freaking love Del Toro. The man has not missed yet in my eyes. Like, legitimately, I cannot think of a Del Toro movie that isn't freaking amazing and one of my favorite films of all time. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Pinocchio, Del Toro's Pinocchio. What did you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. This movie, I adored it. Might be one of my favorites of the year. Probably didn't surpass Everything Everywhere All at Once for me, but it's definitely up there. And would be a contender if that movie hadn't come out this year. But beyond all of that, I just hope to hear all of your thoughts. And beyond that, thank you so much. And I hope you all live long and prosper.